I spoke before about my transition to encaustic wax and rattan reed from clay. It was a very frustrating year, and it was a real struggle to find new materials that spoke to me. And during that time, I gave myself permission to just enjoy the experimenting and permission to fail, which is really important. It helps you relax and just see things in a different way. And it keeps you open to shifts of materials and use of materials. And that's just what happened to me on a trip to Canada. I was roaming the Art Gallery of Ontario and came across an amazing exhibition of model ships tucked away in the far corner of the basement. Now, I'd seen model ships many times before, but I'd never seen as many as they had there. It was just incredible. They were specimens that were just mind-boggling in size, from tiny, tiny little vessels to ships that were built that were about, 5, 6, 8 feet wide and 8 feet tall. They were just amazing. What was even more amazing was to find out that more than half of them were built by French POWs in the War of 1792. They were captives by the British, and they had very little materials to work with. They used whatever they had, so basically they upcycled and recycled everything they could find. They used a lot of bone, and they would put it out in the sun to bleach it and then carve it up, and used every little piece of it. They used wood, they used stone, they used string and cloth, they used any little piece of paper, a little label, anything. It was just amazing. These made a great impression on me, just their use of recycling the materials. The other models in display were prototypes of ships that were built by explorers to give to wealthy, hopefully, patrons, to show them what these new designs in their ships were going to be like, the innovations that they had, new ways they were going to use their rigging. And in order to show that off, they had wonderful little secret doors and panels to open and show you the innards of the vessels. And as I looked at these exposed guts of the ship, I saw them as the skeletons, and I thought, that's an interesting way to shape and form things. And I thought about my rattan reed. Shield, turning point, and set free were constructed after viewing those ship models, and they made a great impression on me. On that same trip, I visited the Textile Museum of Ontario. It too had exhibits I found of value to my work. After viewing their exhibits, I made a few purchases in their gift shop, which they cleverly wrapped in recycled dressmaker's pattern tissue, all of which I brought home. The tissue remained on my work table and called to me to use it with my sculpture. Again, a recycling theme going on here. Afloat, Fertile, New Life Awakening, and Alex are just a few examples of my adding the tissue to my forms in various applications. My sculpture cot utilizes that tissue paper in a completely different way. What I did here is I would cut the tissue paper into long strips so that it looks more like a fiber, like a yarn, and then I would crochet, or what's sometimes called knit bombing, over my sculpture to make it fit very tightly. Knit bombing, I don't know if you've seen it before. It's been around for about 5-10 years now, and it's sometimes called knit bombing. You can also see it as guerrilla knitting, yarn storming, urban knitting, or street or art graffiti. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a whole nother way of touching and using the materials. And for me, it was a perfect technique to encase my biomorphic organisms and show their dystopian life cycles. I enjoyed it completely. And as long as I'm talking about materials, I should also talk about how my sculptures look and mimic metallic forms. I fooled a great many people that they are extremely lightweight. And I've done this with encaustic wax and paint. And the way I've taught myself to treat the materials, it looks like rusted iron or copper. I enjoy the visual contradiction of my sculptures. They at first appear to be heavy, but they also somehow float. It looks like a solid three-dimensional sculpture, yet the shadows they cast appear to be line drawings.